having the opportunity to take a film project like this and bringing it to a workshop like this, we can actually talk about what's happening, what are the thoughts behind it, and most importantly, what can we do about it now, because we don't want it to stop there. So our first question for Rocky as well as Kiran, both of you, whoever wants to jump in, is what was your focus for the film? Because with mental health, there's an array of topics you can cover, and it is a short film, 15 minutes. Sometimes a lot of questions get left unanswered. So what was the focus that you guys wanted to get out there with that project?
When writing this film, I didn't want to look at the causes for depression, in specific, like for this film specifically. I wanted to look at the reactions of the people and how they deal with that. So as much as this was like a film on Kiran's character, it was really about how everybody around her was dealing with her depression. So what I basically did was I looked at the community and all the ridiculous things that we hear about mental health and the different ways that people deal with mental health, and I put them into the family dynamic and allowed that to happen and see what the result would be. So I didn't want to talk about, because I know when we initially screened this, a lot of people were like, well, you never showed why she was depressed. You never, like, was she bullied at school? Did she break up with her boyfriend? What were the triggers for her depression? And I didn't want to get into that song and dance, especially with our community that doesn't even acknowledge that mental health occurs. I thought it was most important to have the community look at themselves and to use it as a talking point. Like, it's just a short film that allows the community to begin a discussion of like, oh, hey, this exists, it's critical, and we need to talk about it. So that was really the lens in how I approached this film. Should she commit suicide? Should she not commit suicide? And this isn't a Bollywood film, so it doesn't have to have a happy ending. And I think I settled on the fact that I didn't want it to have a happy ending because I think our community needs to be shook a little bit to wake up, to see the reality of what people, and not only young people, but mothers and even fathers and grandparents. Like, there's so many different forms of depression, and so many different people are dealing with depression or going through that we don't acknowledge. So I think I wanted it to make people feel uneasy, and that there is, if you keep moving the way you move, we're going to be seeing more suicides. I also delete a lot of the comments, so nobody has to read them except for me.
Okay. I don't know about that.
Yeah, which is good. I would say like 90% of the feedback has been very positive.
Yeah.
I think Kiran is a fantastic personality. And she, I think, is such a fantastic role model. And so a lot of young women, especially young women, feel that they can confide in her. So I know that she was bombarded with messages afterwards about thank you for telling my story. And I think that's incredible that she does that, and that she's so kind and giving of herself and sharing so much of herself. So I think majority of the feedback has been great. I think a lot of the feedback was, that I had to delete off YouTube was, I'm trying to think of that one guy that was, these are white people problems.
Yeah,
these are white people problems. So there was that, she's a spoiled brat, she needs to get kicked in her head, like those types of things, like just, okay, we're Punjabis, we don't do this type of stuff. So those were the other comments, but very few and in between. I think when we did the live screening, we heard a lot more about people, I think from the older generation that just didn't understand why she would be depressed. That was their biggest thing, was like, but why was she depressed? And our whole point was, who cares why she was depressed? The fact is that she's depressed. Now let's talk about what we're going to do about it.
To like understand depression, just in terms of creating the content. Like, I know you've had personal exposure to mental health, like, you know, through family and like lineage, and I know, Kiran, like, you've had your, you know, past experiences. Like, when you were making the content to like really like depict depression as it is, were there any additional resources that you referred to?
No.
No?
I didn't. I don't think there's any there's no further research that you can do than lived experience. And for me, I didn't, in writing Gideon's character, I didn't actually write Gideon's character. Gideon wrote Gideon's character because I have never been depressed. What I did, what I was able to do was put together the dynamics from the outside, right? Because when my brother was depressed, I said a lot of the same things, and I come from a very forward-thinking, very modern, academic family that would understand these things, but you feel a sense of frustration. And I thought that was also, it's not easy to be on the other side when you want to fix somebody, but you can't fix them and you love them so much.
In terms of you seeking help in a non-conventional way, going to a transformational coach, this is where, when opening the dialogue and talking about mental health, you find out that we all have different backgrounds, different interests, different hobbies, different learning styles, and sometimes the most conventional way of helping someone may not work for you. And we've really been opening up the platform of getting people coming forward. Like even at work myself, recently Jasmine and I, not recently, it's been a few years, we started practicing Kundalini yoga. It's something that my sister got me into, her friend got her into, and you know, just sharing it. It's something like, you know, when you really open yourself up to new ways of practicing something, learning strategies, you really end up finding common ground. Because even as you're talking about being like, you know, transformational coach, working on thought patterns, that's really similar to like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is working on thought patterns. But then you go to somewhere like mindfulness and being present, and it kind of has the same, you know, patterns. And like I remember taking my cognitive behavioral therapy certificate course at OIZ, which you pay like $900 for. And then I went to Harinam Singh Khalsa's yoga class, and I sat there and I'm like, he just taught me CBT, right? And that's yoga, and that's years and years of practice being passed down. So just having a conversation, finding ways to connect with other people at the human level does so much. Like watching this film, and we're doing community mental health nursing, so we meet clients in their homes. We're meeting with the families, we're meeting with the grandparents, and you know, all these issues that you see in the film are happening, are, you know, they're real. And you know, it's so hard to make someone a villain in the house and be like, you know, you're not understanding what this person is going through, yet they have their own complexities, their way of thinking, their education, their experience that is driving how they are reacting to something. And that's where the challenge lies, but that is something where we can all come together, like with this conversation. You share this with one person, imagine the domino effect of that. Like if all of us had this conversation with one person, that's like, you know, double of us, which there's about 40 people, close to 40, so 80 people that would maybe start to be like, aha, like, you know, we really need to think about this.
It doesn't always have to be that you go to a professional to get help. Even just finding that one person that you connect with, whether it's a sibling, another family member, a friend, a neighbor, just anybody, can literally be whoever you feel comfortable talking to. Personally and professionally, we find that that really makes a difference. And it doesn't mean that you have to go to someone and be like, oh, okay, you know, this is my problem, this is my diagnosis. Sometimes people don't even know what's wrong with them. Like, Kiran, you were even saying you didn't have a label on it, right? And labels are a whole other thing, which I don't want to get into, you know. But just even talking to someone, like, there's something that isn't right? Sometimes even with me, I don't know what I'm going to say, and I'll actually be like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but da-da-da-da. So you don't always have to know what you're going to say, but having that one person that you can confide in really makes a difference, and I guess could be a starting point. And then I guess in terms of seeking professional help, your GP, which is a general practitioner, or your family doctor, they are actually the gatekeeper for all other specialists, be a psychologist, psychiatrist, what have you. So, you know, unfortunately, we've heard in our personal lives and professionally that a lot of family doctors, they don't have that training. You know, you would think that because you've gone to med school and whatnot, but even with nursing, we had with me personally, I think we had one course in 4 years, and it was half the course that was focused on mental health. It's nothing. And even on our nursing exam, which is like a national-wide exam, there was not, the year that we wrote it, there was not a single mental health question. And we specifically discussed that because mental health is our passion. So, you know, there's nothing right now that we can do about the GPs not having that, well, not all GPs, but a lot of them not having that education. But, and it doesn't always mean that you have to go to your own family doctor. You can always seek out another doctor, but they are the gatekeeper for a referral.